today's presentation will be on frequency waves as it relates to cancer treatment research. Normally, there are three main types of techniques utilized in cancer treatment. These include the use of pharmaceuticals or the hunt for new and exotic chemicals derived from plants or other sources, as well as man-made compounds, also known as synthetic drugs, which are predominantly utilized in conventional therapy. And also, 2, the utilization of radioactive therapy like chemotherapy. 3, the invasive treatment like surgical operations. However, the use of frequency waves, which will be elaborated on later, is non-invasive, non-radioactive, and non-toxic with virtually no side effects. Objectives. So the primary objectives are to examine different non-invasive cancer treatment techniques such as resonant frequency, histotripsy, and TTF, which is tumor treating fields, with an intention of replicating their success on the African cell line in vivo. 2, to examine the different types of waves that can be used to nullify cancer cells. 3, to look into the different devices that can be used to emit different frequencies for shattering cancer cells. Okay, so the primary aim of this presentation is to propose an investigation into the feasibility of the utilization of a variety of waves that destroys cancer cells. Frequency waves. So what exactly are we talking about? There are two types of waves. You have transverse wave and longitudinal waves. Transverse waves, like for example, electromagnetic waves, while longitudinal waves, like for example, ultrasound waves. As we will see, both forms of waves at different frequency has been the subject of intense study for cancer treatment research and is actually being employed in real-time cancer research. So, let us begin to look at our first non-invasive method for potential cancer treatment research, which is the use of resonance frequency. What is resonant frequency? The first thing we need to know before we can understand resonance is that all objects, mechanical systems, and even charged particles tend to vibrate at a specific frequency. This includes neoplastic tissues, which is our focus. We call this frequency the resonant frequency or the natural frequency. When a light or sound wave strikes an object that is already vibrating at some particular frequency, and if that frequency happens to match the resonant frequency of the object it's hitting, then what you'll get is called the resonance. Resonance in physics is defined as follows: a phenomena in which an external force or vibrating system forces another system around it to vibrate with greater amplitude at a specified frequency of operation.
I have here two identical tuning forks, both tuned to the note A, the note an orchestra tunes to. These forks are both made to vibrate 440 times per second. We say their frequency is 440 hertz. If I tap this fork, putting little pulses of energy into it, the second fork will also vibrate in sympathy. And if I silence this fork, we just may hear the other singing its tone. We say that I'm inducing a sympathetic resonant vibration in the second fork. It only works because both forks are tuned to the exact same frequency. Now,
another practical example is when a swing oscillates forward and backwards. If a series of regular pushes are given to the swing, its motion can be built. The person pushing the swing, however, has to synchronize with the swing's timing or frequency, which results in the swing's motion having increased amplitude to reach higher. Resonant frequency is therefore the natural frequency whereby a medium can be made to vibrate at its highest amplitude. Resonance is a phenomenon that occurs when the matching vibrations of another object increase the amplitude of an object's oscillation. So, before we look at how the phenomena can be applied to cancer treatment, let's look at the following clip. What you have just seen is a basic example of the principle of application. The principle of resonance can be used to vibrate cancer cells at different particular resonant frequency that will rupture or shatter cancer cells. I know what you're saying. Oh, this will never work. However, it has been demonstrated in vivo before.
and we film the destruction of hundreds of microorganisms. And about this time, we meet a cancer researcher, and we show them these videos. And this results in an invitation to spend 4 months in a cancer research lab trying to shatter cancer cells. This is our setup in the lab. You can see the microscope with cancer cells on it. Here's the plasma tube, and here is my little frequency control box. So first we attack pancreatic cancer. Take a good look at this slide, because the next one will look quite different. After we treat these cells, they change their shape and size, and they begin to grow long, rope-like structures out the sides. They look something like antennas. I call them bioantennas for biological antennas. It's as if the cancer cells are trying to tune in to our signal. It also turns out this is the beginning of a process of destruction for cancer cells. We now know that cancer is vulnerable between the frequencies of 100,000 hertz and 300,000 hertz. So now we attack leukemia cells. Leukemia cell number 1 tries to grow a copy of itself, but the new cell is shattered into dozens of fragments and scattered across the slide. Leukemia cell number 2 then hyperinflates and also dies. Leukemia cell number 3 then tries to make another cancer cell. The new cell is shattered and the original cell dies. But killing a handful of leukemia.
Instrument employed in this type of cancer research is known as a resonant frequency therapy device, which was developed by James Baer of New Mexico, and its purpose is to induce a resonant vibration in a living organism or cell. The following is a brief clip about the principle of its use and its application.
And there are two really important things about this device. The first is that it uses a very special kind of antenna. They take a hollow glass sphere, they evacuate the air, they put in some helium gas, and when we send in our electronic signals, the helium gas lights up like a fluorescent light. An electrified gas is called a plasma. So this is called a plasma antenna. And it has many special properties uniquely suited for this kind of work. The second important aspect about Dr. Baer's invention is that the output always pulses. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. This is very important because when you're doing research on the effects of electromagnetic waves on living organisms and cells, if the signal is constantly on, you are in danger of inducing heat in those cells. And heat causes indiscriminate destruction. And we don't want that. We want targeted destruction.
The ethical consideration of electromagnetic frequency for cancer treatment research. Dr. James Baer device is an improved modification of a Rife machine developed by Dr. Royal Raymond Rife in the early 20th century. His ideas were based on Dr. Albert Abrahams, who pioneered the concept of radionics. Because radionics and the Rife machine has for most part been rejected by modern science, thereby any similar mechanism or idea is usually suppressed or frowned upon by conventional medicine. Despite this, however, there is an overwhelming wealth of evidence in support of the use of electromagnetic frequency for the treatment of cancer. Recently, virtually all medical devices aimed at treating cancers using low levels of electromagnetic fields were considered quackery due to lack of scientific. While uncertainties regarding efficacy remains, there is an increasing evidence that some form of electromagnetic frequency exposures may be beneficial for the diagnosis and treatment of the disease. The Rife machine hasn't gone through the same rigorous testing procedures other cancer treatments have gone through, and there's no research that suggests that it can or cannot work. However, researchers recently started experimenting with radiofrequency using EMFs to treat cancer. They have concluded that low levels of electromagnetic waves do affect tumors and don't impact non-cancerous cells. However, it is in its infancy and there's no current human studies that have been done.
Absolutely, and that's what's really neat. Now, part of the problem is, of course, when one's using frequencies, you have to develop whole new testing methods to figure out how can we cross-correlate what's happening here on my little test sample as to what may be happening in the body. And there's kind of a way to do that, but I don't think it's really complete, and it's still to some degree developmental regardless of what anybody's doing. There's still a lot of understanding. This is a huge field that's just opening up. And I'm going to be talking a little later on about other applications besides cancer. But